When you are asked, tell us about the best technology companies in the world, what do you say? Let me guess, you may have some possible answers in your head. This is Apple, Microsoft, and Google, which owns the best smartphones, operating systems, and the best search engine. For example, Meta has the best social networks in the world. Facebook, WhatsApp, Instagram, and the recently released Threads. Who can be better than them, right? Not even close. There is a large Chinese company of the world market with a modest and unknown name, Tencent, which has a logo in the form of a penguin. It looks very kind and harmless, which already makes me want to say, who created this cute company? But this cute little face actually hides a huge dark secret that even the Chinese themselves don't know about. After all, just for the sake of the idea, you don't even realize that you are enriching this company by using Discord to call, sitting on Reddit, listening to music on Spotify, buying any game, and so on. The average monthly income of this company is higher than such giants as Meta, Samsung, and Tesla, thus creating a big surprise, especially since we know who Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, and Li Byung-chul are. They are all founders of higher listed giants. But it's not just that we don't know about the founder of Tencent, we wonder what the Tencent is. But there is no point in blaming you for this, because this company works in the shadows unlike other giants, and they themselves try to be invisible, because the company's invisibility is necessary so that the Chinese Communist Party can vote for the decision of Tencent. Simply put, it helps CCP manage the world wisely without any war, and consider that China knows everything about you, what time you go to bed, how long you communicate with a loved one, and much more. And if they want, they can do everything with you, but do not be afraid this may not happen, because first of all, no one really needs you. And secondly, even if they really want to, there is a barrier that does not allow them to do this. I will tell you about this today in this video. The Tencent ecosystem includes social networks and instant messengers, web platforms, e-commerce tools, payment systems, mobile and computer games, cloud storage and email services, a search engine, and a film company. The corporation focused its efforts on high-tech business, online services, electronic entertainment, and the development of artificial intelligence. This bespectacled Ma Huateng is the man who created Tencent. Some people call him Pony Ma, pony he invented specifically for foreigners, to be better remembered and easier to pronounce. The fact is that one of the meanings of the hieroglyph Ma means horse. A fan of jokes, the entrepreneur decided that he would become a pony. Ma Huateng was born in 1971 in the Chinese town of Shaoyang. The future billionaire's childhood was not remarkable, except for the constant traveling because of his father, who often changed jobs. Finally, the family settled in the port city of Shenzhen. In his early summers, Ma had never imagined himself a businessman. He was drawn to distant stars and unknown worlds, majestic astronomy. But then the teenager bought his own computer, and he instantly forgot about the secrets of the universe. Pony was so enthusiastic about the acquisition that he enrolled in computer engineering at Shenzhen University. After graduating from high school, like his father once did, Huaten changed several jobs. The longest, that is 5 years, he worked at Rungsun Communications Development Co. It was this company that sent a young employee on an American business trip that was destined to change Ma's life. During a visit to the United States, a Chinese tourist was very impressed with the functional short message service ICQ, and he thought, I would like such a useful thing for the citizens of my native country. But Ma Huateng understood that his compatriots would not accept the American interface. Pony understood the common phrase steal like an artist in his own way, then he decided to act differently. He enlisted the help of 4 comrades and already in February 1999 presented a clone of the overseas ICQ and called it OpenICQ. Sources also do not clearly say where Pony Ma got the initial capital for a rather expensive startup. According to one version, he borrowed $120,000 from his mother. On the other hand, he earned this amount with his friends on the stock market. Anyway, the startup had to work hard to keep his brainchild afloat. He worked part-time as a janitor and designer, and his project as email and internet paging services. But money was only one of the problems of startups. Other talented Chinese developers literally stepped on their heels with their own clones like CICQ, PICQ. In the future, Huaten will solve the problem with competitors in a very peculiar way. But in the meantime, since Pony intended to promote his own creation exclusively in China, the problem of copyright infringement did not particularly bother him. The developer had truly grandiose plans. He intended to launch a service so multifunctional that OICQ could even work with pagers. But investors didn't find this idea very interesting. It was to promote OpenICQ that they created the very cute penguin with a scarf, by which Tencent products are recognized to this day. Pony didn't spend a dime on the famous logo, he just didn't have the money for a designer. The cartoon was drawn by one of the programmers working in the company. Seeing how much the bird evokes emotion in the audience, Huiting gave the go-ahead for sewing penguin toys. Such souvenirs still contribute to the multi-million-dollar profit of the company. The messenger itself also enjoyed a successful launch. In the first 2 months of operation, 200,000 people used it, and by the fall of 1999 the number of users increased to 1 million. The huge popularity of the product became a problem for Pony Ma. He did not have free capital for either high-quality servers or technical support. The businessman would have been happy to sell OpenICQ, but the service was not monetized, which means that it did not have much value for investors. Nevertheless, the persistent Huiting managed to sell 20% of its product to PCCW and IDG for $2.2 million. After a series of investments, the messenger continued to grow. Already in 2001, its audience was estimated at 50 million users. This success could not fail to notice the parent company AOL, which owns the American ICQ. There was an appeal to the court for copyright infringement, but the cunning Pony Ma miraculously saved the situation. He simply changed the name of the service to QQ. At the same time, he came up with and registered a name for his company, Tanksun. The Tencent variant, again, was used specifically for foreigners so that they would not suffer from pronunciation. Meanwhile, in the same year 2001, money from investors was almost exhausted. Tencent was forced to look for new sources of financing. At the company's benefit, China has joined the WTO. This means that the way to foreign investors was opened, which Pony Ma immediately took advantage of. He sold a 47% stake in Tencent to the South African holding Naspers for $32 million. The buyer is still the owner of 30% of the securities, and Ma Huiting considers this transaction the biggest mistake in life. One way or another, but to us from Tencent the first return begins to come. Pony introduced revenue sources, a paid subscription to premium messenger features and advertising. The latter brings the corporation only 10% of the profit. However, a series of successes still led to the presentation of a fresh novelty, Tencent's own currency called QQ coins. At first, users bought coins to transform the avatar, upgrade the profile design, or buy a new feature in the built-in game. But over time the value of QQ coins has increased so much that the virtual currency began to be used to pay for real services and goods in online stores. The cherry on the cake was the use of coins in the shadow business. This state of affairs did not last long. In 2009, China banned all transactions involving virtual assets. However, for Ma Huiting, this was no longer a big loss. The QQ messenger was firmly established in the market. It was time to conquer new horizons. By new opportunities, Pony primarily meant the cyber industry. The decision did not come out of nowhere. Martin Lowe, a former Goldman Sachs banker, moved to Tencent. It was he who suggested that Huiting release Korean MMO games that were popular at that time in China, linking them to the QQ service. In addition to the authoritative offer, there were other objective reasons to pay attention to the gaming industry. For example, about 100 million Chinese people devoted at least 7 hours a week to computer games. At the same time, 200 million people in China gave virtual reality 10 hours every day. As well as from South Korea to China, the culture of internet cafes successfully migrated. About 200,000 such establishments worked throughout the country. The QQ Games platform today strongly resembles Valve's Steam. Given that both projects began their history in 2003, this leads to already familiar conclusions. But at that time, Tencent was not trying to reach the global level of the cyber industry. The developer was only looking for something to occupy the audience of his messenger. They didn't lose out with online games. In 2004, 0.62-1 million users became interested in them, and in 2005, already 10 million. As with ICQ, Tencent initially simply copied Korean games, slightly modifying them to suit the Chinese audience. The same QQ Speed Race was a 100% clone of the South Korean game Kart Racer. But in 2008, Pony Ma still decides to move on to creating authors' gaming products. Smilegate is developing a crossfire shooter for Tencent, which in just 5 years has become the most profitable online game, bringing Huiting a fabulous $957 million. At the same time, Tencent continued to follow the strategy once chosen. Games were tied to the company's social networks. A QQ user could visit any of the internet cafes around China to chat with friends, play their favorite games, and spend QQ coins to improve their character. This approach contributed to the growing popularity of Tencent and its products. By 2010, the company produced 4 of the 5 most popular computer games in China. Free-to-play was chosen as the main monetization model. The player is given a choice whether to develop their character on their own or buy everything for donates. The new revenue stream has helped make major, important acquisitions like Riot Games, Activision Blizzard, and Epic Games. With this, they have captured the entire world of computer games, and if you buy a game, be sure that Tencent took a share of your money, since he is also involved in the development of 70% of popular games from the planet. At the same time, Tencent managed to develop the mobile QQ Games smartphone game platform, whose audience in 2012 was 200 million gamers. If the cyber direction was developing just fine, then things were not going very well with QQ Messenger. Ponies constantly had to look for investors for the messenger. When the entrepreneur sold 40% of the shares for $2.2 million, he realized that something had to be seriously changed. In the early 2000s, Ma noticed the growing popularity of mobile phones and decided to make them his trump card. Messenger is being rebuilt to work on mobile phones, although this would seem to be a risky decision, but it brings 80% of the company's total revenue. The service is becoming so popular in China that even its creator himself later admitted that he met his future wife in QQ Messenger. However, fame plays a cruel joke with the company. The Chinese arrange a real hunt for accounts that have a number with the numbers 6 and 8. This is considered a lucky number in the local culture. 66,666 or 88,888 were particularly valuable. However, it was not possible to buy such numbers in the messenger or specifically configure them. Users only had to get to the lucky numbers by iterating. People registered a sea of accounts, hoping that the cherished 6 or 8 would fall out. What was all this bad for Ma? But the fact is that a certain server capacity was reserved for each number. Dead unused accounts created a huge unnecessary load. They wanted to solve the problem by introducing paid registration, but users expressed strong dissatisfaction. In their opinion, the messenger was already making good money on displaying ads. As a result, we limited ourselves to the freemium model, paid access only to premium features. Already in 2004, QQ managed to become the largest Chinese messenger with 300 million users. This allowed the startup to enter the initial public offering on the Hong Kong Stock Exchange, so Hueteng Ma quickly became the lucky owner of several tens of millions of dollars at once. In the future, fate favored QQ, the Golden Shield, the Great Firewall of China, blocked Western social networks. Even Mark Zuckerberg's personal visit to the Middle Kingdom could not fix anything, as China took a course to develop its own IT corporations. But the QQ story continued. The service still functions today, being a cross between Windows Live Messenger and Skype. It has an app for both smartphones and PCs. Despite this, Tencent justifies the status of a company that has managed where possible. Its subsidiary Tencent Pictures took part in both the production and launch of popular blockbusters such as Wonder Woman, Venom, Bumblebee, etc. But these are all small successes of the company compared to the following actions of the pony. Since 2005, Tencent has been developing its own social network called Qzone. The project started at a time when social networks in China were not even known. Therefore, at first Qzone was just a convenient addition to the main popular products. On the site you could keep a personal diary, listen to tracks, and share photos with friends. But, continuing the strategy of syncing their own products, Tencent gave users the opportunity to create an account in Qzone without registration. It was enough to have a profile in QQ. Hueteng called this feature QQ Connection, and this step added several hundred million new users. But competitors also did not doze off. In the same year, the Xiaomi network declares itself. The competitive product was almost a complete clone of Facebook. It was even distributed to university students in the same way. But the startup did not have a strong parent company or a well-established quality service, so Qzone won an absolute victory. Pony Ma worked in a proven way. Standard options are available and free for everyone, while premium features had to be paid for. For this purpose, the QQ Show online store was opened, where you could buy an outfit, jewelry, and cosmetics for your avatar. In 2011, with its 500 millionth user, the social network became an open platform. It was possible to implement online games and mini apps on its basis. Becoming an open platform for the social network brought only 2 billion yuan to third-party developers. Qzone is still actively developing today, with 655 million active users registered on the platform. However, Ma Hueteng is in no hurry to bring it to the international market. He is more interested in working with an Asian audience. In the online shopping market, Tencent also had competitors, especially such giants as Alibaba Group and Taobao. Ambitious Pony Ma simply couldn't help but pit his own products against the local giants Taobao and Alibaba, so he launched a website PayPay.com, an analog of the American online marketplace eBay, as well as the payment system Tenpay, which is an analog of PayPal. In 2014, Tencent finally got tired of trying to deal with a competitor on its own, and the company acquired a 15% stake in the strongest rival of the Alibaba Group ecosystem, JD.com. For this, Pony Ma had to give both Wangu, PayPay, and a share in Yixun. Nevertheless, the goal was achieved. The partners joined forces in the electronic payment market, strengthened their position in China, and prepared to enter the international arena. Let's now go back to the social media market, because here the plot of this story is gaining great momentum. The observant Pony Ma did not miss the moment when mobile devices were replaced by smartphones, and in time saw this as a new fantastic opportunity. At first, the entrepreneur wanted to adapt QQ Messenger for fashionable gadgets, but realized that it was much more cost-effective to develop a qualitatively new product. To make things more fun and faster, Hua Teng offered two development teams a contest, who will be the first to create a new messenger for smartphones. During the competition, the world was shown Weixin. Experts believe that all the genius of the development of Ma was able to appreciate only in 2009, when competitors introduced WhatsApp. The Chinese version was no worse, and most importantly, this time it was original. The product differed not only in its design and interface, but also, most importantly, in its philosophy. If communication was the main thing for WhatsApp, then here it was a mobile lifestyle in general. The final version of the messenger under the final name WeChat was introduced in 2011. The audience was amazed by the variety of features that the app had to offer, such as communication, payment of utilities and various bills, currency transfers, and table reservations. In fact, WeChat was not an app, but a platform for numerous mini-apps. For each of them there was a set of tools that improved interaction with consumers. Additionally, third-party developers were attracted by ample opportunities to stand out qualitatively from the competition. The WeChat payments platform was used, which allowed you to attach a bank card to your account for making money transactions. WeChat is a huge ecosystem that includes functions of many well-known global companies: Facebook, iMessage, PayPal, Uber Eats, Instagram, Expedia, Skype, WebMD, Evite, GroupMe, etc. Without leaving the mobile app, companies can organize large-scale events, people can order massage therapists at home, and tycoons can make large payments. The red envelope function deserves a separate word: a money transfer of up to 200 yuan. This is a brilliant transfer of an ancient tradition to online reality. In Chinese culture, it is customary to give small sums of money for various holidays in red envelopes with a small wish note. Making a loved one, a salesperson, or a polite employee happy in this way was a great opportunity that millions of users took advantage of. Today, the Messenger's monthly audience exceeds 1.2 billion monthly active users, and the vast majority of them are Chinese citizens. In 2017, it was announced that 38,000 healthcare organizations have official WeChat accounts. Now patients of 60% of organizations can register for an appointment online. As for medical payments, more than 2,000 organizations accept payments using the WeChat wallet. The Chinese conglomerate has built an entire ecosystem, which includes a whole galaxy of useful services and products. Note that Tencent is also the largest internet service provider in China. In addition, the chronicle of Tencent would be incomplete without a list of subsidiaries, purchases that gave the company its high position in the world. Among the most significant, Epic Games, Supercell, Tencent Music Entertainment, Funcom, and the same hundreds of companies that they bought. Together, they have invested in 100+ companies around the world, covering everything from AI to biotechnology. With access to more internet users than the United States and Europe combined, Tencent has a veritable treasure trove of big data on the planet. But this path was not so easy for Pony Ma, because in each path he faced hundreds of competitors, as well as bans from the United States, Europe, and even the government of his own homeland. Tencent tried many times to circumvent the bans, or they just wanted to negotiate with the United States and Europe. But this wasn't about Tencent. It's political distrust. The US never trusted the Chinese Communist Party, especially since they knew that more than 2,000 Tencent employees were members of the CCP, thus helping the Chinese government to solve many political problems. And the Chinese government didn't trust Tencent because of his purchases of shares in major US and European companies, by type of Spotify, Epic Games, Reddit, etc. Although the government and Tencent recently resolved this issue, they agreed that the Chinese government could buy the company's shares. Only on one condition: this share should not exceed 1%. In other words, the government can influence the decision, but not completely. This is beneficial to Tencent because now Tencent will not receive special bans from the government. because now the government can vote on the company's decisions. And CCP itself got a big benefit, since 1% of the share for them is half the world. That is, thanks to this, they now have a treasure of the world's data. And Tencent has become a big weapon of China. But don't worry, so far China can't do whatever it wants, because there is a huge contract between them and between companies in the United States, Europe and China. And the company Tencent was left in a very dead end, because they will need to please the world and CCP, and they have a different point of view. If the world wants to ensure that the rights of black people, women and people who are associated with LGBT people are not infringed upon, the CCP does not care at all. Their main goal is to change the world in their own way, and so Tencent will have to produce goods in different directions, where there may be propaganda, and there may also be games that do not infringe on the rights of other people. Nevertheless, I think the video turned out to be interesting, because this is not only a dark secret and paradox of business, but a cool success story, and at this point I will say thank you for watching the video to the end. Bye everyone.